on my production workflow here. There we go. All right, so we are up and running and live, and what we're going to do is we're going to revisit this Luck 2-bay NAS device. This is a roll your own. It's basically like a mini PC, but it's got a ability to kind of run like a NAS. So it's got a SATA controller on board with, in this case, 2 spinning hard drives. Right now it is running with, what is this thing called? Open Media Vault. That's what it comes with, but not for long. So this is the experimental stream today. And I'm just going to get my MacBook screen on board here. So what we're going to do is use the MacBook here to install the software onto the NAS. That is the plan. So that is what we're going to do in today's video. And what I'm going to do in the meantime here is pull up my chat room from the YouTube video, make sure we got that going, and go from there. So yeah, it's going to be a fun little stream today. Kind of a laid-back one, and it's going to take as long as it takes. And I've got most of the afternoon before my kids got to go off to a to a softball game. So right now she's in school, so we should be in good shape here. All right, we are up and running. I see everybody jumping into the chat on YouTube, and I see a bunch of people on Amazon also. So why don't we get moving on this? So let me show you the first thing that I have done here on the Mac side. And what we're going to do is just run the Unraid USB creator. And what I'm going to do is put it on this blank drive that I have here, because I've got nothing on it right now. So let me just get a cable out to plug it into the MacBook with, and then we'll get it installed and see how it works here. So we're just going to plug the cable in like so, because you do need an external USB drive to get this working in the first place. And I'll plug it into my Mac here. And while we're doing that, why don't we take some questions here. So Nimblebits is here, who says Unraid is so easy to use. Yeah, Larry Herb, Major Nelson, my buddy, said this is like the easiest thing ever, and he like loves it. So I am sold. So we're going to give it a shot. Patrick Chang is here. Ned Dredd is here, and Chris A is here. So welcome to the usual suspects coming into the chat. It's so funny how these chat or these live streams do. Like right now, Amazon, I've got 362, and YouTube, I've got 28. But you're the right 28. That's what matters. Okay. So we're going to go into the computer here, and we're going to click on the, oops, wrong one here. Let's see. Camera 10. Let me move this over here. We're going to run the USB RAID creator, and we're going to trust it. So we're going to choose the operating system. It recommends that we use 6.12.13. So that's the one we'll choose. And for storage, my Samsung here is what we're going to install it on. I'm assuming it's going to reformat the drive, which is fine because this one is not doing anything important right now. Okay, so the server name, we'll call this Luck, because that's the name of it. And we'll have it grab its IP over let me set a static one. Because if I don't, I'll forget what it is. So let me check and see if I've got what's available on my network here. Let's see. I can't remember what I used last, so let's see. Let's come up with a good number. 47. How does that sound? And that currently is available, so we'll do 192.168.2.47. And then we'll do my usual gateway. And the DNS server, we'll just do the Google one. Okay. So that way when it comes up, it's 2.47. And hopefully one of you will remind me that that's what, that's what I did. Now the next thing here is that it's going to say that my media is going to be erased on my drive. That's fine, because there's nothing on it, as far as I know. And we need to allow that. And what it's going to do is download the Unraid operating system from Unraid and write it to my USB drive. And then when this is done, what we're going to do is plug it into this and reboot it, because we're going to wipe this thing out next in order to get this working. All right, so it's been done. How about that? I think we're all set. Okay, so now, so far so good, right? So I'm going to quit this. I'm going to go and grab my drive here and eject it, if it lets me. Let's take a look here and eject the drive real quick. All right. All right, we are good to go there. So Ed says, if I get this, I don't need cloud storage. I believe that is true. I believe what this will let you do is set up something to the equivalent of what you would get with like a Synology or a QNAP, but it's under your direct control. And I was eager to try it when I got this in for review. So I already reviewed this unit. So if you go and click on my YouTube channel or my Amazon page, you'll see a full review of this. This is kind of a neat little device. Because it's upgradable. It's running with an Intel N100 processor. It's actually a neat little machine. And it's really good for media serving. And Nimble, yes, N100 is powering that. The housing is mostly aluminum. It is plastic. Well, aluminum here. This part's plastic. The back part is plastic, but this part is metal. For sure. Ed wants to know in the Amazon chat, can I put it at the in-laws house and connect to it over the... Yes, you could definitely do that. So what you could do, and one of the things that I'll be playing with, is putting Tailscale on this, which is a great personal VPN that you can run. And that's something that's a lot of fun. And so what I've got right now at my mother's house, maybe this might end up over there. So my mother's house right now, I've got a Synology NAS that's on Tailscale, and I'm using that to back up my data from here. So it encrypts it here, and then it fires it off to her. So my mom has the fiber optic service from Frontier, and so we're able to use that, and it works great. So every night I back up to her house with a secure backup. She's got no idea that's going on. Chris says, Team 20, that's right, 28. I think we got a few more now. Now we're up to 50, or 69. 69, dude, that's how many we've got watching on YouTube. 551 now on Amazon. So, and then Ed says, if I lose the data to a disaster, do I lose the in-laws? Yeah, it depends. The drive can't run out of the house, so it's more likely they will be in better shape. And Kurt says, thank you for doing this. Thank you for watching. Did I get the new iPhone, is the question from Patrick Chang. I did, and I can't even tell you what's different about it. It feels exactly the same, except for this button on the side that I disabled. Maybe I should make a video about how it doesn't do anything different. Yeah, I'm totally new to this also. I have never played with Unraid before, so we're going to give it a go here. Kyle is here. Hello there. I owe you an email, I believe. I think you were one of the folks that emailed me about doing the live stream later in the week, which I'm going to reach out to you about, actually, because I think it's going to be kind of fun. I think you were one of the people that emailed me. If not, you should. Yes, you did. In fact, I've watched your stuff before because you're not far from me. I think you did a lot of stuff on 6 meters, so that's going to be kind of fun. So I'll get in touch with you. Nope, this will not be over your head. I promise you. Cedar Lake is here. Oh, that's a good point. Martin says that Unraid, you need to use a flash drive that reports a serial number. Well, that's going to be interesting. Let's see what happens when we install it. Oh, so it runs completely off the flash drive. How about that? I had no idea it did that. Well, we're going to find that out, aren't we? I was thinking we'd be wiping this thing out and starting over again, so that's going to be news to me. Yeah. So it's funny you should say that, Chris Allegretta, because years ago, and I know I'm sure some of you want me to get moving on this. Years ago, like back, I think in the late, I remember doing this probably in 98 or 99. I downloaded Slackware, and it was so hard to get that working. It was like, I was patting myself on the back just when I got the command prompt. And from there, you had to install X Windows. Like there was a whole series of stuff that you had to do after that, and it was not fun. All right, so we're going to reboot the system here, if it lets me. I guess I'm just going to shut it down and reboot it, maybe. Because I can't, oh, I got to switch it into the other mode here. All right, let's try this. See if it lets me do a Control-Alt-Delete. All right, so we got to shut her down. So we hit the power button, wherever that might be. I don't think this thing has a power button. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to hit the power button and shut it down. And let's play with ZFS. Why not? So Kurt says he couldn't get this to work at all. So this will be interesting to see how this plays out. So I'm going to just power this off completely. Doing it the way you shouldn't do it, which is hold down the button. And then I'm going to reboot it. And let's see if we can get it to work. So this could be one of our crazy adventures, maybe. So this thing, although it looks like a NAS device, is actually just an N100 mini PC with some SATA controllers on board. Oops, there goes my drive. So I got to hit, I think delete is my button here. Let's find out. But this does have its own, there we go. This does have its own, oh, I missed it. Unless it's going off of that now, I don't know. This does have its own RAID controller built in. Amda Brown is joining us on Amazon. Hello there. All right, so I missed the window on that, so let's try it again. All right, we got to reboot it again. And the challenge I have here is that this thing is already running with an operating system, and I'm trying to get it to boot off the floppy. So let's see what that BIOS screen says when we boot it back up here again. See if we can override it. The keyboard did not work when I initially got going here. And that little cursor, I think, means that that's like the SATA controller booting up. Delete or escape? Okay, so escape is what I need to use to get in there. All right, because right now it doesn't let me do anything here. So if I, yeah. All right, so now I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit escape the next time it boots up. And I think we'll be in good shape. All right, so let's see what we get here. Flood of Sins is joining us. I love Tailscale. Tailscale is so awesome. And yes, I've been slowly falling into the rabbit hole. You should see how many self-hosted apps I have right now on my Synology NAS. I have like so many. I keep replacing things that I'm paying for with free things, and I'm loving it. All right, so let's reboot it again. Yes, and Chris makes a good point here. I'm going to put a, I'll pin a chat with a link to the review of this, so you know what this thing is, because we're not going to talk about so much what this thing is. Okay, so why? Okay, E. How do I get into this thing? C. It's not letting me stop it. Like it's just locked into this. All right, so we're going to have to get a little creative here. The keyboard's working because it's obviously bypassing us there, but I keep jumping back to Open Media Vault. So let's figure out a way that we can make this work. Anything fun to do in Connecticut in the fall? Foliage. All I know is I'm going to softball games, dropping children off at things, and just running around in circles. That's what I do. All right. So I got to figure out how to get this thing going. So the config, this is kind of fascinating. So I had no idea this is how Unraid works, but the configuration lives on the Flash OS, on the Flash, and the operating system actually runs in a RAM drive. That is fascinating. So I'm trying to figure out here how to get my NAS box here to respond to my desire to not boot the operating system that's built into it. Now this thing came pre-installed, and I will link to the video in a second. If somebody wants to drop it in the chat, that might be more helpful. This thing comes pre-installed. Oh wait, there was an F7 option too. Yeah, it's going right to grub. So maybe my keyboard is not responding. That could be the problem. Let's see what happens when it boots back up. Oh, you know why? The keyboard wasn't on. There you go. When in doubt, turn the keyboard on, everybody. Next time should be a charm. So this is a Healuck NAS. Let me find the video while I'm going through the machinations here. And it is a mini PC that has been configured to run like a network-attached storage device. So that is what that's for. And I'm going to pin this chat so you all can see the review of it. And we did a live stream with this thing also, if I remember correctly. I think we did a whole live stream with it. Okay. All right, so now we're going to try this again. So we're going to shut it down. And now that my keyboard's connected, we should be able to get this to work. But I had no idea Unraid is tied to the serial number of the drive. So what happens if the flash drive dies? Do you have to call them and like reassign it to something, or what? I'm sure by like the 5th boot it's going to stop working. There we go. Okay. So now we can override, and we're going to go to the Samsung. Oh, wait a minute. Which one is it? This one. They're both Samsung drives. So it's got a Samsung drive installed on it, but we're going to boot off of this one. All right. So we have Unraid OS GUI mode, Unraid OS safe mode. So why don't we do the GUI mode? Let's try that. Let's see what we get. Oh, I see. It's an online guide swap once you rebuild. Got it. Mike is here. What are you unboxing this week? Well, that's pretty cool. So the cider mill in Stonington, a cider mill powered by a real working steam engine from 1888. Yeah, I think, the storage situation, I wonder if the amount of cloud storage that consumers are using has slowed down the amount of capacity they need locally. And I'm sure that's impacting the market. Now, granted, data centers probably need more storage, but... Okay, so now I am on the home screen here. It's asking me for a username. So I wonder if I have to connect to it with my... Oh, yeah. Okay, so now... All right, so let me show you what I see. So this is the GUI interface. And then on my web browser, I will show you this right now. It's asking me to set up a password. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to jump into my password manager here. And I'm just actually going to use a less secure one for now, just because I want to remember it later. And I'm going to make a note of this, because I'm probably not going to use this as my main configuration. This is kind of a starting point. So we're going to just use something a little less secure to start. We'll set our password there. Okay. So now I have some choices to make here. So I'm going to start the 30-day trial. So I don't have any free stuff on this one. So I'm going to hit Start Free Trial. And then I got to sign into an Unraid account. So let me do that real quick. So this is not a free piece of software. It's using some open source components, obviously, but they charge you on an annual basis, or you can do a lifetime license, very similar to Plex. Okay, start your 30-day trial. So we've got the name of it here. So I'll confirm that. So that's going up to the Unraid account thing there. And it has now installed the trial key. So we've got 30 days to make this video happen. All right, so it's been installed successfully, but something went wrong. So let me see. Maybe my ad blocker is causing trouble there. So let me turn off the ad blocker. So let's try this again. So start 30-day trial. And now it's going to try again here. And if this doesn't work, then maybe it's the Brave browser it doesn't like. Or perhaps I need to sign up. Well, I did sign up, so why is this not working? Let's see, getting started guide. All right, so I'm going to jump over to my other browser and see if that might work better. So let me try that real quick. All right, so now we're going to use Safari and see if that works. So, oh, I see. So annual basis for updates, but the license is perpetual. So, and then they've got like 2 tiers of annual, because one is like, I guess it limits it to 6 devices, and the other one, or maybe storage devices, and the other one allows you unlimited. And you can go from there. And I'm not going to start over. We just started. Yeah, I think what this, I think their target for this is like if you have, because it'll run on something like this little guy too. So if you think about it, if we installed it on one of these, you'd have your boot drive hanging off the USB, and then we've got 2 SSDs we could use in like a RAID 1 configuration. That may be kind of cool. But yeah, you could do this. I think that's a key thing to keep in mind, is that you could do this yourself, right? But it's certainly a lot easier to do it with something that's more turnkey. All right, so let's try this again now with my Safari browser. Okay, so let me sign in again. And I had signed in with my Google account. Maybe I need to do something else. Let's see. Let's see if it lets me in this time. Okay, so now it says start your 30-day trial, hit confirm. Oh, it's already great, because now I logged in with a different email address. So let me sign out. Not off to a good start here, everybody. And the problem is that my my Safari browser is not logged in to my other email account. So let me start this again. Hang on a second. It is showing up to their server there, so that's a good thing. If not, I'll load up another browser and just do it that way. All right, I'm giving up here. Try one more time off of this one. So it's weird. It's saying that the trial key is installed successfully, and then it says something went wrong. But maybe I can just bypass it and go from there. Yeah, okay, we're in. I guess it is working. All right. So here we are on the main screen. And it's got a lot of neat stuff, as you can see here. The array is stopped because my drives have not been assigned yet. So I'm guessing the first step here is go to main, and we're going to start assigning disks to it. So disk 1, it looks like it has support for 24 slots. And then it's got a flash drive, which is the drive that we're booting from here. Oh, but the registration key is still missing. So why is it, so it's letting me in, but not doing the other things. Start 30-day trial. GUID ending in 844J, license type. All right, so let's submit this again. So we can't actually get started until it approves the key, and then I get this error. So my luck is like their server's not working right. Could that be it? Let's see, do I have Google Chrome on here? I do. So typically I use the Brave browser, but I will log in with Chrome and see if that makes it better. And I made the mistake of logging in with my Google account. With that, I hit the Google thing and not the so let's see if this works better. So I'm going to use my phone or tablet, use my pass key here, and let's do that and see if we have a better go of it. And if not, this will be a very short stream because it's not working. I bet you if I paid them right now, it would probably work quicker. But let's see if this works better. Maybe Chrome is a little friendlier. All right, so now we're back here. All right. Oh, that might be why it didn't work. It didn't have an SSL key registered? Nope, it's not working here either. I bet you if I purchased the key, it still wouldn't work either. But it's saying it like it works. So, maybe let it sit here for a second and see if it calculates better. Maybe that's what I got to do. I bet you at some point we'll attract somebody from Unraid who will fix the problem for us. So Roger thinks I may have misconfigured the network gateway. I think I did 255.255.2550, right? That seems to be the right one. Let's sit here for another minute or two, and we'll come back to it. Let me see if I can log in here with this thing. All right, so now I'm on the... Oh, so here's an error. On January 1st, 2023, SSL certificates for Unraid were deprecated. You must provision a new SSL certificate to use our myunraid.net domain. You can do this in the settings, so that's why it's not working. Well, that's complicated. So how do I do that? So settings, management, access page. And I'm on the most recent version here. So settings, management, access. And it's very small. But let me see if I can do this on the other screen so you can see it. I'm assuming this is not happening to most people. So I'm going to go here and provision, I think. That's what I want to do. I can't delete. I can't do anything here. Start page, telling it no, SSH. Yet we are stuck. So if I go back on here, Unraid.net deprecated on January 1st. So what happens if it's not. I wonder if that's just an issue for this device maybe. All right, well, it looks like this is using Firefox. Let me try Firefox on my Mac here and see if, so I don't have Firefox installed right now, so let me download Firefox. No, I put the right gate. Oh, maybe that's what I did wrong. Let me see. That could be what it is. Let's go over to the network settings. Yep, that's what I did wrong. You're right. You are correct. That is what happened. I think that's my right one. I thought that was the net mask I was putting in. So that's exactly what happened. Thank you for finding that. All right, so let's go and make sure. I've got to check my network settings here to make sure I've got the right network. Okay, yes, that will fix it. Okay. All right, so let's try this one more time. And I'm going to go back to my screen here. And I bet you now it's going to work. There we go. This is why I do these things live, because I always screw it up. That is it. So credit goes. Where did it go? So Nimblebits gets credit, but somebody else did here too. And Red Techie, are you using this? I know you've got like some crazy configuration at your spot there. And now I got to find who. I know Nimble was one of them, but somebody else had said it too. And Red's using it for hosting containers. So that's what he's using it for. And Jerkamy said that your government banned the use of Linux. Well, that's disappointing. How do you not use Linux? Okay, so now we are back in business here. So let's go back to here, and we've got my trial going. And as was noted, this is running on a specific flash drive, which it's assigned to. And I have 3 storage devices attached to this because inside of this we have an SSD and then we've got the 2 spinning drives. All right, so why don't we go and assign some stuff here. So parity. Boy, this is really involved here. So let's go disk 1 and disk, there we go, and disk 2. And like I said, I don't read instructions, so I'm probably going to screw up all this stuff. Now, do I have to create a parity? Oh, I see. So I can use one other drive for parity, but I'm not going to do that because the only other drive left is the NVMe that's in there. So my hope would be to create a RAID 1 with this. So why don't we go ahead and, oh, I have to add a pool. There we go. That's the cache. I don't want to call that cache, or that's just a cache pool. Boot device, unassigned devices. Why don't we spin it up here and see what happens? I'm sure some of you will have some suggestions for me as we work our way through here. Okay, so now I spun that up. My 2 disks are available. Right now it says unmountable, and that's fine because those are formatted for the other thing that we were using. So that's fine. Let's format those suckers. All right, so we're formatting. And in the meantime, I will take some more questions here. Roger, right, Roger T. 1988 was the other. Thank you for that, for getting that to work. And here's that chat. I was too far down the run there. That's what happened. So, okay, so now, yeah, we're going to unraid with just 2 disks today. I'm just going to make a RAID 1. Oh, so I guess that's why they call it Unraid. So for RAID 1, like Unraid, you would have to have 1 parity and 1 non-parity. Okay, so if they're large drives, okay, so when this is done formatting, I'll reconfigure it. It looks like it is done. Okay, so by the way, it formatted these for XFS. I did not have any option to do something otherwise. So how do I take the drive offline now? So let's go back to shares, or let's see. So I'm going to take some time to get used to this. So my understanding then is that the way this works is that you just kind of define drives and stuff. All right, so let me stop the array here. Because I have to assign one as a parity to the other, is what it sounds like. So right now I just have a JBD, just the JBOD, right? So now what I want to do, okay, so disk 1 is going to be disk 1. Disk 2 is no device. I'm going to assign parity so I'm assuming, and you all can correct me, I'm assuming if I do this now, this will be the equivalent of a RAID 1. Is that right? Oh, geez, now it says contents emulated. You can really screw this thing up, huh? And add pool is just a caching pool, I think. So it wants this drive back again, even though I don't want this here anymore. So how do I get rid of that? Now it says it's wrong. That's the wrong drive. Disk 2 missing disabled, contents emulated. So let me go back to the chat. So RAID 1 in a 2-disk array is 1 parity and 1 disk. It creates a mirror. I see. And then you need a cache for it to be usable. Okay, that's a good thing. Stop arrays, go to tools. Okay, so let's do that. So we're going to stop the array, which I did. And then we're going to go to tools and new config. So this is a lot different than like a Synology kind of situation. Okay, so disk 1 will be this. Disk 2 will be the parity. So now I've got a parity setup going on here. And somebody suggested that we set up a cache. So why don't we do that? I'll set up a cache. And I'll assign that to the Samsung drive, which will get erased, assuming. And then I'll hit start. So you can really wipe this stuff out pretty quickly here like this. All right, so now we're restarting here. These drives aren't too big, so it shouldn't take too long to do that. There's nothing on it either, so. And you can see right now it is getting that mirror set up. So that may take a minute. Okay. And now we need to set up some shares. I'm assuming. Add share. So we'll call this test share. I did see some requests for me to zoom in on it here. Primary storage array. Allocation method, high water. I don't know what that means. Included disks. What happened here? Party, oh, sync started, okay. Included disks, disk 1. This is a lot different than I expected. So this is really not, again, I've never tried this before. So this really is like it is Unraid. It doesn't work the same way that, I mean, it does this, in concept here, the same thing with basically what we're doing here is setting up a parity scenario. But that's pretty cool. But, and I think, there's a good comment here from Dester. It's not popping up on my screen here. Dester Kuhn. For some reason, it wasn't popping the thing up here. Hang on, what's going on here? Everything's getting disconnected here. So CR Paul doesn't like Synology, but Desert here, for some reason, it's not putting your thing up on the screen. Okay, here we go. Desert Kuhn says, after the last video, I thought about this real hard and just bought a Synology. I'm too old for this crap. I think that is the truth. I think there is some degree of that. So this has definitely got a lot more granularity, for sure. And CR Paul is going to get back to a project, but thanks for stopping in. And some more tips here about how to set up everything here. And I'm using that as the cache pool now, so that should go a little bit quicker. And then I'm assuming now that I have this set up, if I were to add more drives, I could go back in and add drives later. Like, how do you add a drive to this thing without blowing up the configuration? Because right now I've got 2 array devices, and that is it. And you can see here that the parity, so from a performance standpoint, we're going to be a little hindered performance-wise. But this actually does give you a good sense of the speed of the drives that I have installed, but also the internal bus on this thing. Because we're pushing about, I don't know, about 2 gigabits per second on these 2 spinning drives, which is pretty good. I think these are Seagate Iron Wolves. Oh, then I need to format the cache drive, so let's do that. All right, so now our cache is active. That might speed things up a bit. All right, now what? I got my share set up. I guess the question would be, does this show up on the network as a shareable drive? And it does appear to be there. Let's see. Not yet. I wonder if I have to set up a user here. Oh, app share access. Okay, so let's create a username. We'll call it my name here. And I'll show you what I'm working on right now. I could drag my own image in there, and I will just do a quick password. All right. This is going to be an involved video if I do something on this. I may have to watch a lot of other videos to understand this better. Okay, so now I've got my username on here. So now if I go back to my Finder and connect with my password, it should give us that share, right? Let's see. It's trying. And I'm guessing that all that we're doing to the system here is slowing it down. So we'll give that a second here. Oh, I got to turn on SMB. Okay. Oh, and I have to set my share to use the cache drive. Okay, so let me go do that now. Boy, this is like you really got to wire everything up here. So that's the one thing about like Synology, which is nice, is that you don't have to think about any of this stuff. It just does it for you, right? So here it's a little more involved. So let's see. So I'm looking at the share settings. So I don't see anything about the cache on here, do I? I do not. And we haven't even gotten to Docker yet. That'll be where it gets really interesting. Oh, I see. Storage cache. Oh boy. I think I screwed this up when I set it up, maybe. Well, SMB is enabled, and I don't see an option for the cache. Let me make a new one here and just see what happens when I add a new one here. Oh, I see. I should have just left it as all. Go back to the shares now. No, it's still just going on the array. Huh. All right, so let's go back to my Mac here and see if it's connected, which it has not. Connection failed. Maybe I got to wait for the thing to build itself before it lets me access it. So I've got all these warning messages. Some or all files are unprotected. So could it be that we're waiting on the drives to get mirrored? Okay, so change the primary storage to cache and the secondary to array. You need to export the share. Good Lord. This is complicated. I thought this was easier. All right, so let me go back to shares here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to delete these two and start over. How do I delete this thing? Can I even delete it? Delete. Okay, delete. But this thing's pretty, pretty scary. You don't want to give somebody access to this. They can really wipe you out quick. All right, so we're going to start from scratch. By the way, aren't these mugs beautiful? You too can own one. Click the link. Okay, so let's go over to add share. I'm going to call this test 4. Actually, it's test 3, but test share. Okay, so now, included disks. So all I have here is disk 1. I don't have the option to do the cache storage. So I'm just going to go with the default here. Click Add Share, and then I have to export. I don't even see an export. Right settings to. Oh, export. Export. Yes. Okay. Now I can do it. Because that was the SMB setting. Okay, so now I should be able to access this. So let's go back to the Finder. Connect to Heoluck. Oh, there we go. And then I'll type in my password. Now, connected as a guest. So I can see that this requires a lot more of a deliberative approach, is what I would say. Good Lord. So here's another one. Primary storage, set it to cache, and the second storage to array. The scheduler will transfer it to the array, and you have to go into the scheduler. I set that public means guests. Is that what I did? Good Lord. So this thing's pretty involved, everybody. Yeah, because right now I'm still stuck here. So let me go back here. Where does it say guest? Oh, I see. Security public. So I want to say secure. And that way it doesn't let everybody in. And now I can set, got it. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so the only option I have here, so I don't even have the option to select, oh, I see, start with the cache. Okay. So primary storage for new files, secondary storage array, included disks, disk 1, apply. Okay, so now it will write to cache and then offload to the thing. The problem, though, calculated free space value now is only 12.5 gigabytes. So does my cache have to be as, oh, I see, array is the, see, the problem is if I use the cache, I don't have that much room on it. Or does it smartly know what to do with that? Okay, so now we've got that going. Let me take a few more comments here. This is why I do these things live, because you all know how I do it. Primary storage for new files and folders to cache. You don't usually want to set included disks. It does not matter. Public means guest, secure means, okay, so that I got that figured out. You can specify which shares use the cache. That's why you need to manually choose cache as the first storage device. Okay, and then select, I see. So it does it, so I guess it smartly manages where stuff goes on the disks. How does that work? And that's the free space required to keep it free. Okay. And the mover tool will move the data. Gosh. So can you set it to, so I guess the scheduler can do that automatically? Okay, so secondary storage array, I'm going to do all drives. Let's apply that. Mover transfers files from primary storage to secondary storage. Okay. All right, so now we got that set up. And can I connect to it now? Let's see. I'm not sure it's going to let me connect to it. Let's see. Because I set that to secure, didn't I? Yeah. My Mac just doesn't seem to want to connect to it. May have better luck on Windows. But let's see what happens. I'm starting to get the hang of this now. I'm beginning to understand it a little bit better. It is a very different concept. And in fairness, I'm going in blind here, so I haven't read any instructions. I'm relying on all of you to tell me what to do. And Nibble says, Mover is essentially rsync built in for speed with a cache drive. And will automatically move based on the schedule. So does it know, so I know in the case of Synology, what it will do is it will put frequently accessed files on the SSD cache and offload the other stuff to the spinning drive. Does it do that also, or does it just do it by time? Yeah, so the NVMe that came with this, and I could replace it if I wanted to, but it came with a 128 gigabyte NVMe on board. And as we saw in the initial live stream that we did, it's quite involved to pull it out. So it's pretty crazy. But I'm still not able to connect to it. So let me try to do it. I'm going to try to do it manually and just do a SMB and see if that works. Oh, now it worked. All right, so now we're connected here. So I think what happened is that the Mac was trying to connect over AFP. That might have been why. So why don't we just copy, here, I'll copy the file that so that's there. So now let's go to the tools and see what the mover is all about. Oh, they can even let you downgrade the OS. That's pretty neat. So there's no releases, so we're on the current version. There is a new version coming out, but that's obviously beta. We have a diagnostic screen here. A new config. I'm not going to do this, but I just want to click on it. So this resets, so everything is new. So I'm going to need to read up on, I'm beginning to understand it a little bit better, but I do need to read up on how this works. And where does one find the mover? That's what I want to see here. And I guess it's done in the scheduling. Here's CPU pinning. What does that do? Wow, there's a lot of stuff in here. We can do VMs. We have a VPN manager. So it's got WireGuard built in. And I'm assuming I can install Tailscale on this somehow, so that might be something to play around with later too. And then we have the scheduler. Mover settings. Okay, so the mover runs daily. and I can move now. I'm assuming that will just move my files from one thing to the next. All right, so to check out Space Invader 1. Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm not disappointed here by any stretch. I think I know where they're going with this. I would say, like, for people that are coming to this from a Synology, or even what this thing came with, which was the Open Media Vault, this is a very different concept that you have to wrap your head around. So I can see how this might take a little bit of time. And then, let me ask you all this question. So if we go back to my settings here, I have disk 1 and a parity. I didn't assign this to parity a specific drive. So I'm guessing you have to manage the amount of parity drives you have available. So like you need to really closely manage all this, is what I'm saying, I guess. And then Unraid kind of manages, if I understand this correctly, the way Unraid works, correct me if I'm wrong, but you set up all your drives, and then you tell your shares to use whatever drives you want. So you could say you only use drive 3 and 4 for this share. If I say all disks, then Unraid is just managing where everything goes, and I don't have to think about it, right? So it just throws it out there. It sticks it on whatever physical media it has. You need to have enough parity to back up the number of physical drives that you have on the system, I'm guessing, right? And in this case, I can have up to 24 drives assigned to my array. And so if a drive fails and you have enough parity, and I'm assuming it'll warn you if you don't have enough parity. And then the community applications. Yeah, I've heard about that. And Tailscale is a plugin, okay. Use the Tailscale plugin, not the Docker. And Space Invader is going to be my new best friend. Because I'm guessing once I figure this out, I'm going to be converted, right? I'm going to be all in on Unraid. So it's got about 2 hours before it builds up the array there. So somebody said I can hit the question mark somewhere. Now let me ask you all this: if you lose your flash drive, you're done, right? Because that's the whole configuration. Everything is dependent on that. So is there a way to back up the configuration? I'm guessing there must be. All right. So how do we find plugins? Install plugin. Oh, so I have to go download the URL directly. So we have Docker. So I'm going to need to mess around with all this too. Virtual machines. Oh, look at that. Pre-packaged. Look at all of this. So I could add a Chrome OS. I'm not sure how much RAM I have on this thing. How cool is that? I see, so I got to go grab a that is cool. Very neat. So I can install Windows. I can't install Windows. I can install Windows XP, but not Windows 98. I can put SteamOS on it. That's neat. Or a custom VM. Super cool. Oh, so here's install to download the community applications plugin. I want that. All right, so now we got that in here. I understand all of it. Ooh, look at all this stuff I'm getting now. Whew, okay. Well, that's neat. So now we're kind of fleshing it out. And Red Techie says, community applications is probably the #1 reason why Unraid is a way better for Docker containers than Synology. So Chris Allegretta, my resident Linux expert, one of the many, but one that I certainly count on, the man that wrote the book on Nano. Have you played with Unraid before? Is this new to you as it is to me? I never use VMs. Docker's, yes, I agree with you. Yeah, I am totally off the VM bandwagon on my Synology, so Docker is all I do these days. So now everyone's saying, let the real fun begin. And you can pin specific CPUs, or yeah, specific cores to a VM. And there's an official plugin to back your flash drive up, which I guess is very important. And hit the flash button on the main page, choose backup flash drive. And I'm guessing that you, like every time you make a configuration change, you got to do that, right? So why don't we go back over there and take a look at that. By the way, I know that a lot of people on Amazon are tuning in. So what we're doing right now is we're getting Unraid installed on this, this really neat mini PC. So this is a Hialuck, and you'll see it in the thing down below. This is a Hialuck 2-bay mini PC. You could run this as a regular computer. And what we're doing right now is setting up a storage array on it so that we can mess around with stuff. And this is currently we're messing around with something called Unraid, which is a neat utility that I am beginning to understand a little bit better. And what this does, it allows you to basically run a network server with Linux. And they've simplified a lot of the process of getting things to work here. So Tailscale plugin is what I want for Tailscale, is what everybody told me. So this is a great VPN. So if we jump over here, there's two of them. There's preview. What's preview? Oh, that's the beta. So that will get us going with Tailscale. So I'll click install. And let's see what happens with that. Look at that. Tailscale's installed. Hit the easy button, folks. And then I'm assuming this will jump us over to, yep, so I said to re-authenticate with Tailscale. And I can't remember what account I put. Yes, okay, so we'll sign in with Google. And I'll connect it to my Tailscale account. And now it's on my Tailnet. Easy as can be. Pretty wild. All right, so that's done. Very cool. Yeah, so this is one of those things. I kind of liken this to what we've talked about with Plex, right? Because Plex is a paid app. There's licensing involved with it. People like it. They have some need to respond to the community or the customer base, if you will, for what they want. And this is something that has a customer base beyond just an open source project. And Feral Terminator says adding a drive is very simple. And Nimble has been running it for a decade, since 6.0. That's a long time. And Feral says it's a great server. Hussein Al-Haddad's got a whole repository. I will check that out. This is like the only field in which you can say, check out my repository, and it doesn't have an offensive meaning to it. Kyle uses a GPU pass-through on a VM to play Sin and Light Gun games. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so Chris is a traditionalist, a Proxmox Classic Linux distro commercial thing. And I'm guessing you could run Unraid in Proxmox, right? That would be possible. And everyone says the community apps is where it shines. And Red Techie says, by the end of the day today, see, I have a free, like my schedule today has been like free. I'm like, today is the day I'm going to play with this. And so that's what's happening. So yes, I probably will be. All right, so I probably missed this before in the chat. So here's what I would like for you all to answer for me. We have Unraid working on here. It boots off of this thing. So the question for all of you is, I got an idea I'm going to get to in a second. The question for all of you is as follows. If I can't add a drive to this, but they do have a 4-bay version of this. So let's say I had the 4-bay version of this. I had my 2 drives occupied. I'm mirroring one to the other. When I add disks, what happens if I add more disks than I have parity for? And for those of you who don't know what parity means, it means that you have a redundancy set up. So right now, we have this set up with 1 disk and 1 parity. So the parity is mirroring everything on the other disk. So every time something gets written to one disk, it goes to the other one. So if we have a failure, we don't lose our data. Oh, that is interesting. That makes a lot of sense now. So that's why you put it on an external drive. So let me offer this. So if I install Plex and a whole bunch of other applications and decide I've outgrown this box, if I take the drives out of here and put it into a new computer, and as long as I boot off of this, it all just goes over? Like there's no other stuff I got to do? And you know, one of the things about reverse proxy, I mean, we're getting really complicated here for the, I'm sure a lot of folks at Amazon are like, what did I just tune into? By the way, Amda Brown has got the Synology. He's running out of space. And I think that's where this might come in handy. If you can just pull the whole thing out without having to rebuild, that's pretty cool. I don't do reverse proxy anymore. So what I do is I have Tailscale, and I just hit it from Tailscale, and it works great. Okay, so when I set up the parity, am I assigning that to another drive? I guess that must be what I'm doing then. And the parity disk should be equal or more in size than your largest disk. Oh, parity is just a checksum. Okay, so it's not a mirror. The parity is for the array, not the disk. Okay. So right now I've got a 1-disk array, which is this one. So let me ask you this. If I added another disk and didn't add an appropriate level of parity, what happens? Boy, this is super cool. Now I kind of like that idea. All right, so now let's go through some of our community apps here. So what about Home Assistant? Now we're getting into it here. All right. Let me ask you all of this. If I install this, if I click this button, does Home Assistant just get installed? Let me show you what I'm looking at here. Sorry. If I click on this, does Home Assistant just go in? By the way, we got some new followers. Sue, Instant Issue, Joshua Carrillo, and Lady D. Thank you for following me here. So I'm going to try this. This is a Docker container, I'm assuming, right? It's not a plugin. How do I know the difference between the two? I don't know. Oh, it says container. All right, so let's install this and see what happens. Okay, so now Home Assistant container runs the core of the Home Assistant home automation platform. It focuses on local control, yada, yada. Console command, network type host, mount user data, Home Assistant container. I'm just going to go with the defaults here. And here it goes. It's doing its Docker thing. Look at that. All right, experts. What happens when this container gets updated? Does it update with a click, or do I have to go through the whole pull and shut down and all that stuff? Or is it just like, boom? Let me know. All right, so it's doing all its pulling. I haven't done any configuration yet, so I don't know what I'm what I'm looking at here as far as where the data gets stored and backed up. So that'll be something else. Yes, I have not played with Home Assistant yet because of all the configuration complexity, but I want to. So Ed has transferred his configuration 3 times just by moving the disks over. red, oh my gosh. See, that's the thing I'm struggling with on Synology is that when I have an update, I've got things built in a project. So that's been complicated. And that's your morning routine, all right? You may have to come over here and help me with this. That's awesome. That's so cool. So believe it or not, that's not something that happens on Synology right now, is that? Now, I don't think I have much RAM on this thing. I think I've got only like 8 gigs of RAM on this, so we may hit the limit pretty quickly. But let's see what happens here. But I think we're doing pretty good here for like just starting out, right? And I do have the GUI set up here, so there's stuff I can do on its little desktop. It's super small because I'm on a 4K display. Let me see if I can make this bigger. There was a time in my life in which I could see what I'm looking at here, but that's since passed. Even with my glasses on, I'm like squinting here. Yeah, I can't change the display settings. But you can run it like a little desktop with a small GUI thing here. All right, so now we're done. So this has been installed. So if I go back to my apps, I go to installed apps. I've got Home Assistant Container. And I can go to Actions. So I can edit this. And I see, oh, so that's cool. So you can actually set where the configuration goes. That's pretty handy. And then I can hit this. Look at this. Huh. All right, let's take it one step further here. What's that new photo thing? Photo Mastiche, is that the name of it? Is that in here? Photo, what is that? What's that thing that everybody's using? Is Photo Mastiche? I'm mixing up my photo apps. The photo library Docker container. I'm starting to like understand this, and it's becoming more. It's starting to make more sense to me. Image, thank you. That's what I'm looking for. Is image on here? Because I've been meaning to install it, but like the amount of configuration I got to go through with the Docker Compose file. Oh, there it is. Okay, monthly spotlight even. Okay, so here, check it out. So this is image. Now, there's a couple of different versions of it. There's a kiosk. Oh, I see. So these might all be, there's a frame, power tools. But this is like the main thing. So all right, so why don't we install this one now? Let's try that. Choose a branch to install. Latest. Machine learning is, oh, I see, they have some machine learning and stuff in there. Because it does do some of that. So I'm guessing that if I just do the latest, I'll get both. Okay, so now I've got the repository, network type bridge, console, yada, yada, web UI, port number. So I need to set a path for photos. And I have to find that. Okay, so this is where, right, so, and this is actually helpful because a lot of times when you're doing Docker containers through the manual process, you have to go through all this rigmarole. Can I assign this so I've got to set these paths up myself. Can we assign these to a share? Or do we have to have it live somewhere? So why don't you all fill me in on that? Yes, Bite My Bits has been doing a lot with Home Assistant. Okay, just click on the Photos text box. Don't click Edit. Okay, so let me go back over there. Oh, I see. Look at that. Okay, so here, let me go back and show you what I just did. So if I click on here, Oh, I could even put it in the share if I wanted to. Oh, that's handy. So what I could do is I could make a folder. Because I kind of like, so for me with Docker, I like having access to my stuff. Like I like to know where things are. I don't like things sitting in a thing that's out off in the wilderness, right? So look at that. Oh, that's so cool. In test form, I'm obviously it's not going to be a permanent location for stuff, but so I'm going to make a new folder in here. So we'll just kind of store all of its data in here. I'll put that in there. And then I'll make a library over here. We'll call this library. Oops. So I have so many photos that from my older stuff. So I got a lot of stuff in Apple Photos, which is fine. But I've been eager to like set this up. And I guess I can just leave everything else as is, right? What the heck? Give it a shot. Yeah, I think for me, what I needed to do is get my head around like how I'm still not quite there yet, but I'll figure it out, how the whole file system works. Because you do have a little bit more direct management of how these things configure. So on the Synology side and many other NASs, you set up the volume and do all that. This is interesting. And it's chugging away here. And by the way, it's still rebuilding the NAS at the same time. And if we jump in here, we should probably see things starting to populate, maybe not. Not yet. Oh, it's still pulling. Okay. You can see what's going on here. Oh. So I have to set up my own. Oh, so it doesn't pull the database automatically. Everyone listen to Grand Admiral Thrawn. He compels you. He'll send a Star Destroyer to your house if you don't hit the like button. All right, so let's see what kind of error I get because I didn't get the database installed. And this is running a little slower than it otherwise would because of, we're just getting things set up here. Yeah, we're still syncing up the thing. And while that's going, let's take a look at our dashboard here and see how our system is faring. I guess I have to wait on the screen. Yeah, it's not letting me switch over yet. Or it's stuck. So on the screen here, there it goes. You can see all those CPUs working. This is neat. So it even shows you the status of your Docker containers over here, your shares. My Tailscale IP. Very cool. And let's go back over to the apps here. Let's see where we're at with... You can see I'm pushing all those cords right now. All right, so this is installed. So let's take a look here and go to oh, I see. Yep, so it says additional requirements. So I've got to install PostgreSQL here. So let's do that. So what I'm used to is the Docker container installing its own dependencies, which is not how this works apparently. So it looks like you have to have that server installed. That's fine. I'm just looking through all these things here. So we have a single database running as opposed to having multiples, right? Now I was just going to throw this in that. I'm not sure that's the best place for it, but let's go back and refresh the screen here. So I'm reluctant to put all this in. I'm going to go throw it in there. What the heck? Okay. And I got to set a container variable name. So we'll call this, what's going to call it? Container user. So, all right, so let me set my username and password here. Okay, so I'm going to apply that, and that should install our database. And then from there, I should be able to connect up. Let me take a few more. Okay, so Jonathan says, be careful with, so my only question would be, where does this app data live? Is it living on the NVMe? That's the wrong one. All right, so use one of the versions. Okay, so let's try this again. That's for GitLab. Okay, so I did the wrong one. Okay, so let me go back and delete that, and we'll start over again. So once it's finished adding, I will go back and remove it. All right, so now we've got it installed. We're going to get rid of it. All right, so installed apps, I'm going to remove. This will be a good test. So we can remove actions, uninstall. And that'll take it right out, like it was never there. All right, so the app data share is where this stuff lives. Give me a second. I just got to check my email real quick. Okay. Oh, I see. You can configure where that is, but it should be set to cache. Because that's going to like fill up my cache drive, right? So that's my only concern with it. Again, I just like to know where everything is so I can back it up. I'm old school like that. I like to know where my files are. All right, so let's type in PostgreSQL again and see what I get here. So one of the version, I see official. So I'm just going to install 17, right? That's the most recent one. More than 5 million downloads. That's good enough for me. So let's install that one. All right, so I'm going to listen to everyone's advice this time. I'm going to leave it in the app data folder. And then I got to set up my username and everything. So let me do this real quick. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to do it this way. All right, so now we are setting up the database again. And this time I'm going to follow your advice. I'm going to leave it in the app data thing, which I need to figure out how to back up later. So we will let that do its thing. All right, let's see what else I missed. Ah, so mover can move it, and it just knows where to find it again. I can also click on the Docker section to manage my install containers. I see. It's a single share. Oh, because I can't see it because I haven't made that accessible. So if I go over to shares, let's see where that is currently living. Right, so I could assign a drive. So now I'm getting it, okay? So it's just like you've got a blob of disks and it figures out where to put everything. Is that a correct assumption? Let me know. Right, so here it is, right? We have app data, just like it is, so it's just like any other share. Okay, that makes sense. And it just puts stuff in there, and then it goes from, and it's set up right now to do cache. Okay. I kind of get it. See, my only concern is that my cache drive is so little that we only have 126 gigabytes, but I'm guessing it just manages that. Is that right? That's what I need to figure out here a little bit better. So this is not hard because if you move the metadata folder over, that should work after you install the server before you spin it up. And I think I just did something with Docker on the channel. Yeah, and I think the cache is due to the fact that my drive is so small. But I'm just worried about like other applications using up stuff there. So I can change the direction. Okay, because that was how it was set up by default. So I guess if we go back, so JBOD with parity. That's what makes it Unraid. So I always thought it was called Unraid because it was just like, we're not like the other raids. Or like it was like, this is, you buy the raid, we're Unraid. Okay. All right, so if I go back in here to app data, so how do we change the direction? So the mover action goes from array to cache, which is what it should do. Oh, no, I see. Oh, right, we want to go the other way. Cache to array. Got it. And that will fix it. So this is starting to make a lot more sense to me now. Yes. Okay, so now I still, though, only show 126 gigabytes free. Or do I have to recompute everything? Let me compute all. No, it didn't change it. So tell me what I did wrong there. It is definitely its own thing. So then how do I make the amount of storage bigger now? Because now what we've got is the same. Let me go back to the main and go back to shares here. You can see that I'm still at 126. I'm even less than I was before. But I'm going cache to array. Oh, or to say 0. Let's try that. I don't know. I'm just going from what I remembered on the other one. Yeah, it's still 126. I'll run mover. Okay, so if I run mover, okay, so let's go run the mover again. So we'll go to tools. And I think mover is in the scheduler, if I remember correctly. I'm getting it, right? Where's the scheduler? Diagnostics, new config, Oh, it's under tools, maybe? Yeah, I'm in tools. Language, about. apps. Or settings? Maybe it's in the settings. That's where it is. Settings. Scheduler. Here it is. Mover, move now. Okay, so let's mover run. I love all these little things that just run on this system here. All right, so the mover's running. So after the mover's done, we should be good, right? Yep, that did it. Perfect. Okay, so that solved that problem. So now, let's jump back over to our apps. I'm assuming my database is installed now. But I'm starting to get it now. There's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes, and you don't have to worry about your volumes. Just throw disks at it. You define your shares, and then it just does it all. So that's it. And I know I asked this before, and I just need, if somebody can answer again, it would be helpful, because I just want to make sure I understand this properly. If I don't have enough parity for the amount of storage that I have available, what happens? All right, so I'm gonna stop this and then reconfigure it. Give me a second. I'm just going through my configuration here. Okay, so now I've just reconfigured image, and it's going to, I pointed it at the post gray whatever, so it's going to hopefully see it now. And let's see what happens. You can't not have enough parity. So it won't let you add a drive without adequate parity? Like, what happens if you do that? Right. So it won't tell you that you don't have enough parity, because I'm guessing you need an equal amount of parity to the. Oh, so parity is a checksum of the data across your disks. So if I see. So if I select all, I guess what I'm trying to get my head around here is that, like, with my Synology, for example, I have it set up where we've got essentially, I think I have like RAID 5 or something, whatever it is. I've got basically my data mirrored with parity, or there's a parity on there, and a certain amount of storage is reserved for that. And I assign the parity to a physical drive. So that's my, I see. So one drive is used as parity. But when I was looking on here, it didn't look like I could add that many more drives as parity drives. What I need to do is install this on something with more storage, is what I really need. All right. And I saw an error. That means this probably isn't going to work. Yeah, so let me go back. I have to edit one more thing with this. So I have to actually point it at the right IP address for the database. But I do kind of like the fact, because like on my Synology, I have probably 3 or 4 database servers all running in Docker, right? And I think it reuses some of the resources, so you're not using all that much more memory, but I kind of like the idea of having a single database that these Docker containers hit. All right, let's see if that did it. I'll have to keep playing around with this a little bit. I'm starting to understand this better. Thanks to all of you. Okay, so it's still not connecting me to image. Yeah, just like the other things, you don't have a lot of feedback as to what the problem is. Oh, I have to have Redis installed also, so I guess that's another one I have to install. That might be why it's not working. Redis is another one that's like a confusing thing for me. So Demis has 5 drives, only 1 parity drive. And how big is your parity drive to make that work? So if you have a 20 drive array with a single drive for parity, you can lose any one of those 20 drives and be fine. If you have 2 parity drives, you can lose, oh, I see. So that's what it means. Okay. I see. So it enforces that. That makes sense to me now. So what we're talking about here is not necessarily a physical drive per se. What I need to do is set this up on a computer where I've got more storage. Redis is just another DB. You don't need both. I thought Redis was like a caching thing. Because Redis is something that Inmich is looking for right now. Because I'm not able to log into it. I think it might be looking for a Redis server. Let's see here. I'm still trying to get into it. Yes, it's refusing my connection. So edit. Yeah, you still have some of the Docker quirkiness that you have to deal with. Hmm. 5432. So let me ask you this: Is anyone running Image on their thing? I guess I need to install Redis also for this to work. Let's see. It's not letting me in. So let's try that real quick and see if I can get Redis installed. Because my experience with Docker has been that typically the Docker Compose will install each of these things. This might do it. But it's starting to make sense now. This is pretty cool. Okay. So now let me go back over to my installed applications. I'm leaving it off screen because it keeps putting my passwords on. So I'm going to go to edit this. I'm going to change that IP. I think this will work after I apply this. So let's see what happens when it comes back up. So here's an unrelated question, but always a fun one to answer. Is the SD2 SNES worth getting? So yes, they actually you can get one for the Super Famicom. Check out Crix's website, but they are great because you have you get save states. It does. They've got like that extension thing where you can run like CD-ROM type of games on it, which is pretty cool. A lot of the homebrew works. So it's pretty neat. Yeah. It's easier. Let's put it that way. All right, so let's see if that. If not, I'm going to try this later tonight. I'm off to a good start here, though, so that's what's good. Yeah, it's still not letting me in. All right, I got to keep. I got to mess around with this thing. It doesn't give you a log anywhere that I can see for troubleshooting this stuff. Oh, you know what it is? It wants 15 or 14, 15, or 16. I installed 17 for my database. I wonder if that's the reason why it's not working. All right, let me try to uninstall this one here real quick. And let's see if I can get it to work on the other thing. Okay, so let's go and add $16. And we'll see if that makes it a little bit better. So bear with me for 1 second here. I'm just trying to get image to load up. And I got to run in a few minutes. I'll click the icon as a log. Okay, I'll check that out. Ah, that's right. They are just a physical. Yeah, this is how it starts, right? But yeah, the SD2 SNES is awesome. Even if you got like, so even like with, I have the analog Super Nintendo console, and even with that, like the SD2 SNES is awesome for that. All right, so now it looks like it finished successfully there. So let's go back to Docker. And I'm going to restart image again. Oh, I see. So they've got this great menu here. Let's check it out. So these are all my running Docker containers. So I can go over here to image and just like reboot it. This is where the updates are too. That's pretty cool. All right, so image is started. I hear it doing more than it did before, so that might be a good sign. The nice thing about having spinning drives is I can hear them. I can hear them working. All right, so let's see if that negative. All right, so now I got to go look at the logs, and let's see what's going on with that. So image. Oops. Logs. Okay. Yeah, so it looks like it's having trouble connecting to the Redis server. Yeah, it's all 6379, which is the Redis server. All right, so let me go back in and stop this real quick. Yes, you still have to struggle a little bit, and this is mostly my fault because I'm still kind of learning this. But all of the related containers have to be working properly. Now, like I said, like when I play with Docker Compose on my Synology, typically the Compose file is pulling in all of the dependent containers and kind of running them as a project. And this, as people mentioned, is a little different than how Synology handles it. All right, so 6379 Redis host name. Oh, I see what I did wrong here. So let's try I'm going to give it the local IP and see if that makes it happier. And I think it's restarting. Let's go to Docker here. Yep, it started. And it's still refusing my connection. So image, by the way, is a photo library. It's very similar. It's kind of on par with what you would get with Google Photos or Apple Photos if you wanted to host it yourself. Oh, so it looks like it. I got this screen up here. Let me show you what it's showing me now. Oh, it looks like it's actually working. So I think it's starting up still, which is why it was screwing up before. All right, and I'm getting errors. Now it can't connect to the database. Oh wait, no, it should just make the database now if it doesn't exist. But apparently it doesn't. Unable to connect to the database, okay. All right, so that's our next problem. Well, the logs are pretty helpful. Unable to connect to the database. Database image doesn't exist. So I guess it's not creating the database automatically. So what I need to do is go into, I usually do with MySQL, not PostgreSQL, so I guess I need to install something to work on the PostgreSQL. What do I have that can do that? I guess, does PHP MyAdmin work with that? No. So I need to add the database. So they have one, actually, so this is what I missed. There is a version of PostgreSQL that is designed for that. Oh, here, so adminer is what I want. Let's install that. All right, we're getting there. I'm sure a lot of you are leaving me some really helpful. PG admin. Adminer, okay, so that's what I'm, okay, so let's do adminer. All right, we're getting there. Almost there. Almost there. And I'm already running out of ports. I'm going to put on port 8081. But we are approaching success here. And after I get this up and running, I'll put a photo in and then I got to run. But I'll grab some photos that I can use in there. So I'm downloading photos here in anticipation I might be able to actually use them, but we'll see. All right, so I've got a few photos I'm going to export here from my recent trip to Germany. So we'll throw those in there. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my adminer. Look at that. Okay, so I'm here. So now, inside of adminer, I'm going to create a database. And I'm going to call this image, I think is what, I think that's what it wants. If not, I'll call it that. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. All right, now I've got a database. So let's go back let's go back and deal with this now. I'm getting more tabs open here. This means I'm getting into trouble. Okay, so now we'll go to apps. You see how these things balloon over time here. So then we're going to go over to our image here. I'm going to edit it again. Just make sure I got the right database name. Yep, okay. And now, if we restart, it should be in better shape this time. So let's go back to Docker. We're working this little guy pretty hard here, I think. Kim Yuna, hello there. Thank you for saying hey. And we also have you following us. Dragon Bloggers is following us too. Yeah, we're getting a lot of traffic on this one. All right. So we are back up and running here. I'm going to check my logs. Okay, so now I got a new error. All right, here's the new one. Yeah, I think I'm going to give up on this for now. The PG vector RS extension is not available in this Postgres instance. Okay, you know what? I'm going to give up on how I'm doing this at the moment, and I'm going to try something different. So there was an image database that was like configured specifically for this, and that's the one I'm going to use. So I'm going to go back to apps here. I'm going to get rid of the Postgres database I have right now and install that one instead. That will make it work better. But this is how you learn, right? You got to keep playing around with this stuff. Nope, I'm not going to install it. Uninstall image. I'm going to uninstall Postgres. And I'll put it back on later. I just don't need it at the moment. But what I'm getting at here with this is that I'm starting to understand it better, and I'm seeing how this might be a more ideal way to run some of my self-hosted apps. Because it actually is a little bit easier to get going because the community really does tailor this to the situation here. So for example, if we go back to here, you can see there's actually a PostgreSQL for image. And granted, you're kind of dependent upon this person to maintain it, but all right. So let me just go in and configure this real quick. All right, so when I set this up, now it should work. Yeah, we're getting going there. So from what I hear, image is becoming very popular, and I think because now it's got and somebody on Amazon just saying, I'm trying to figure out what this thing is. These are multiple things that we're talking about here. So this is a little mini PC that's designed to work as a server, a home server. And the OS that it comes with is good, but it doesn't have a lot of functionality. So today what I wanted to do in anticipating a future video is install something called Unraid on it, which is what I've got on screen here. And this is a home server operating system that, although is a little complex to set up initially, once you understand it, it actually is a really cool way to run your own home server, and it's very portable. So I've got a lot of learning to do here, which is what I've been playing with this afternoon. So I had a day where I could finally start this project, not finish it. And so this appealed to me. Yes, everybody's telling me Space Invader 1 is the guy. He's your Unraid man. So and you can go meta and run Docker within Docker. That gets confusing. But you can do that, I guess, right? There's nothing to prevent that from happening. All right, so now I'm going to go back to Docker here. So yeah, so this one's super nerdy today, but it's okay. All right, I'm going to restart image now. You can see it restarting here. And what I'm going to check on here is the log and see if it's complaining less now. Oh, look at that. think it's working. I think we might have gotten it this time. I got an initialized WebSocket server. Okay, I think we're ready. It's still going here. I'm seeing a lot more successes now. There's a lot to this container. The other thing the reason why I haven't played with this too much is that they're warning us that as they make updates, it might break your server. So that's been one of the reasons why I've been reluctant to do this here. But what prompted me to do this was that typically with Unraid, you're building your own computer, you're putting all these storage arrays in there. This thing looks like one of these off-the-shelf NAS devices that you can buy, but it's completely configurable. So what we've been able to do is get kind of an out-of-the-box solution that is honestly not all that expensive, and just run it like one of those off-the-shelf units that you would buy from Synology or QNAP. You know, in this case, running with Unraid. And it looks like right now the Inmich app is configuring itself, and I think we're actually good to go here. Let's see what happens. There we go. Welcome to Inmich. So now this is running completely on this little guy here. And I'm just going to fill out my stuff. So give me a second to get this going. And now I can just log in. And we can see what Inmich is all about. So yeah, so now we're running our own version, or basically we've rolled our own Google Photos, if you will, with this little app called Inmich. And then I guess what you can do now is you can have the AI run on a more powerful computer on your network. So you could set up a little box and go from there. All right, theme, light or dark? Let's try light first. Then we go to privacy next. Storage template. When enabled, this will feature auto-organized files. Fine. All right. We're good. All right, so let me upload my first photo. So my dog had surgery recently. She's in good shape, but she's got a cone on her head, and will have to have the cone. I tried the donut, but she was able to get at her stitches, so we had to get rid of the donut. So I guess I can't drag the photo in. Let's see. Oh. Wait, it's in there. Okay, so let's see. Where's my... Must be processing it still. There it is. There she is. Let's add another one here. Let's add... So I took a couple of pictures in Germany. And it wants you to refresh the page to see it. Okay, there it is. Pretty cool. Now, I don't have the machine learning thing on here, so I don't think it's going to recognize anything in the image. But I like it. It's pretty clean. Like I said, I've never played with this before, so it's kind of fun to see how this works. Now, what I just sent up to it is a video. And if I mouse over, it plays the video. That's pretty cool. That's cool. And it doesn't look like it picked up the GPS data from the photos. So that's something I got to play with a little bit. But yeah, pretty simple. This is dark mode. Pretty neat. So we're working. How about that? Yeah, I liked it. I like the efficiency of Germany. It's easy to get around. So does it have a folder view of the images? Let's see. So I think I set it up to not do that. I think I gave it like permission to like put stuff wherever it wanted to. So I'm guessing this works similar to is archive. Archive photos to hide them from your photos view. Utilities, albums. Yes, I don't think you have access to your file system with this. So I think its database handles the organization, is what it looks like to me. Yeah, so it's pretty basic, actually. I thought there would be a little bit more to this, but yeah, that's it. Pretty simple. And I guess you can make different albums, review duplicates. And I'm sure they've got like extra stuff that you can put to bear on that. But hey, at least we got it working. I was browsing without showing you, so. Yeah, I think they modeled it after Google Photos. And like I said, what I don't have installed right now is the AI thing. There's API keys. Let's see. I was looking for some other things here. Oh, wait a second. Here you go. So there's some other. Let me show you what I got here. Folders. Browsing the folder view. Oh, it does have that. So let's see what that does. All right, so let me refresh the page here. So where's my folder view? I just enabled it. This is a view setting I can do up here somewhere. Let's see. So now I'm going crazy here. I just saw folders. Browsing the folder view for photos and videos on the file system. Enable. Oh, I probably didn't enable this when I went. Okay, hit save. There we go. Okay, so now if I go to folders, yeah, here you go. Now what it did when I put this in here is it just created this mess. Very similar to how like Apple Photos does everything. So I don't know how that plays out. But there you go. So I got to mess around with that a little bit more. So the vet did suggest putting a child's shirt or a T-shirt on, but she's like she like nips at it. So she's gotten used to the cone. She only needs it for like another week, and then the stitches come out. So she's pretty good. She had actually a stage 2 sarcoma, a spindle cell sarcoma, which is cancer essentially. And the doctor said she's 11 years old, and she's in perfect health, which is why we went through the time and cost and expense of this. And they were able to cut it all out, and they had clean margins, very close to the end of the incision point, but they got all of it. All right, so let's try that. And then I got to run. So point it to a folder you already have access to. Let's see if that works. And again, if you're just tuning in, we're playing around with a little N100 NAS device here. So, you know, I don't know how this works, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, what if I added more photos to a folder that we set up on there? So let's go back and look at. Let me go in and look at this real quick. Bear with me for 1 second. Because now I should see, yeah, so in that image folder, yeah, so this is what it does. It puts it all in this upload folder. So what if, it's got like a video encoding thing too. So what if I create a test folder in here? And let me export a couple more pictures. Here, I'll do my amazing skimboarding photo. All right, so I got 3 things here. I'm going to export these. Actually, let's just do this. Bear with me one more second. I just got to find something decent here. All right, here's some good ones. Okay, so I'm going to use these photos. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop these suckers right into the photos directory. So I got a folder called test. I'm going to drop them in there. All right, so now I've dropped those photos in there. So the question is, will they show up? So here we have the folder with those photos in it. This is when we had the, whatchamacallit, Aurora come through. Okay, so let's go back to my browser here. So now, what happens if I refresh this? Does it see them? It doesn't, but if I go to folders, yes, it only sees what's in the upload folder here. Unless we have to like trigger it to like do a scan again. So here's a bunch of jobs that it can do. I got to look into this more, but I bet you you can do what you want to do here. It's got quite a bit here, too. Ooh, you have an external library. That might be what we're looking for. Ah. I don't know. I got to play around with this a little bit more. They're not showing up yet, but I think it's possible to do what you suggest. So we'll have to look into that. But all right, this is going to require some more playing around with stuff. But yeah, there you go. So we've got, I would say that we have been successful in getting this set up. And that was the goal for today, was kind of understanding Unraid a little bit better and getting everything going. But yeah, I think it works. So there you go. So yeah, I'm going to play around with this a little bit more. Because one of the things that I had promised in the original video that I did of this thing was that we were going to install Unraid on it and see how it plays out. And now I've got like a lot more to think about with this, because the idea of being able to take these drives out and just move them someplace else, and as long as you've got the flash drive here that can run everything, it's pretty cool. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. All right, so that's Inmich, and we got containers up the wazoo now. So good stuff. All right, everybody. I got to run for a little while. Got to get caught up on a few things. But yeah, that was what I wanted to play with today. And it looks like mission accomplished. It does run Unraid without issue. So what I need to figure out now is what to talk about in a video talking about Unraid. So that will be our next task here. And I will try that. I will probably rebuild it before I go further. But that's cool. Yeah, and I did that once already. So we did wipe it out and start over again. So yeah, I'm going to let it run for a little while longer because it has to finish mirroring those drives. And you can actually see how much CPU it takes to do that. So let me pull this back up. Now, granted, this has got an N100 processor on board, so it's not terribly powerful. But our CPUs are working. So we're running about, and I'm assuming most of this load is for that. Also of interest here is that it's got 8 gigs of RAM installed, although it's reporting we could have up to 64 gigs on this configuration. So that's pretty cool. And we have our 22.5 gigabit Ethernet going here too. So pretty cool stuff. And you can see the parity is happening here too. And we're just syncing up that parity drive right now. So yeah, cool. I'm digging it. All right. That's going to do it for this one, everybody. But I appreciate everybody tuning in. And I've got another live stream that I'm thinking about. So that might be on Thursday, but it might be in the evening. I put out a request for folks because I've been interested in, I've been doing this amateur radio thing for a while. And the events that happened, the unfortunate events that have happened down south, in particular, Clint, the lazy LGR, lives in Asheville, North Carolina. And it got me thinking about the fact that, emergency responders have good communication systems that can get through a lot of issues related to power outages and everything. But everyday people largely don't. Like once your power's out for any length of time, it's really hard to get a message out. And so what I thought I would demo is long-range radio communications digitally that you can do with a ham radio. You have to get a license, of course, but I thought it might be helpful for people to see that because I think it's still very relevant to have some, especially as a tech person, have some experience with radio to understand how you can communicate if you need to. Because we had a few instances here where I live. I'm not talking about like Armageddon stuff here, but we had a couple of years ago a total of 5 weeks without power, not at once, but weeks at a time, in very close proximity to each other. Red Techie was in the neighborhood. He knows all about this. And, even the basics, just everything stops working when the power's out for long durations. So the only thing that did work was Verizon's cell phone towers because they have backup generators, like long, with big fuel tanks at their cell towers. But most of the other wireless carriers, T-Mobile and AT&T, all stopped working. Comcast didn't work because there's no power on the pole for their cable nodes. Everything was shut down. Couldn't even make a phone call. Could not make a phone call. So what we're going to look at is some ways in which amateur radio might be a way that you can get the word out. Because if you're stuck somewhere and need help, if you can get a message out and know where to send it, you will get help directed to you. And so that's what we're going to look at. So that's going to do it for now, but I will be back before you know it. And I appreciate everybody tuning in. This was a fun one. Yeah, exactly. The carriers all went down. Now we both have Starlink as a backup. Starlink actually is a very important thing to have if you live in a rural area. Even if you don't use it all the time, buy the dish and just have it because it works amazingly well. As Red Techie says as well, yeah, it's just incredible. So it's amazing. And Verizon's having a general outage today. How about that? But yeah, we've become so dependent on things that require a lot of power. So there you go. When you lose power for a length of time, you're in deep doo-doo. So that's it. All right, got to run. I'll be back. Hit your notifications so you know when I'm coming back, and we'll go from there. Have a great afternoon, everybody. For the Amazon audience, I apologize that this was majorly techie today, but it was just kind of fun to see what we could do with this thing, and this is something that we can do with it. So there you go. All right, I will leave now, but I want to say hello to James, who just popped in. Sorry to leave and right as you're coming in, but thanks for joining, everybody, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.